Welcome everybody to another episode of Jack Out of the Box. No, you're not hearing wrong. This is Dinesh Dodhy taking over the mics for an afternoon with Jack.
Don't worry, everyone. I'm still here.
We're flipping the session today, where it's been awesome hearing the journeys of many other people out there and how they've come to connect with Jack and the amazing life he's leading. But for many times now, I've spoken to Jack about this, and I've known Jack for many years, and it's about time that we let Jack really out of the box and hear his story. What do you think, Jack?
I think it's a great idea. Were pretty easy to get a hold of to interview me, and you've known me for the longest time out of most of the people I know in Wollongong. So I think, best option is to do it right now, get it done with, so everyone knows a bit more about me before I've recorded 50 episodes or whatever.
And I think that's really important too, because the journey that Jack has had is something to be in awe of, and I'm hoping you've gathered that through the conversations of past that Jack has a disability, and he, from everything that I've seen and been with him on his journey, he has not let that hold him back. And it's amazing what a fine young man at his age has achieved. And I'm going to do a lot less talking. For those of you who know me, I love to talk, and it's probably Jack's worst nightmare putting me on the mic today, but let's see how we go. And I think it's about time to learn who the man, the myth, the legend, the OG Jack Wason is. So Jack, let's start from a young age and bring everyone to speed about growing up, what you've been through and how you've landed here today.
Yeah, so for most of this part of the story, I did touch on it on episode 2 with Scott, but if you guys haven't listened to that, I'll let you guys know how that all happened. So, obviously I was a regular kid. I was a pretty late diagnosis of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So basically, I started off school as a normal 5-year-old does. I joined in, was part of Auskick at the local footy club. I'd run around, do whatever a 5-year-old does. But the only sort of thing Mum and Dad noticed, my calves were really defined as a 5-year-old, which was a bit strange. And they could notice that I just ran a bit slower than everyone else, but they were just like, that could be whatever. Like, he could just be not meant for running.
Just developing at a different time.
Yeah. Sort of thing. So I was doing everything a normal kid growing up in the country does, helping Dad on the farm, all that stuff. So that was obviously 2007 when I started school. And then a couple years later, I think I was 8, I, again, being a typical country kid, I was riding around our house yard on a 4-wheeler. Funnily enough, I think Mum and Dad were going to an engagement party the same day. So Mum was out pegging washing up as they were about to leave. And I, rolled the motorbike, landed on my collarbone, broke it, got back on the motorbike, rode back to the house. Obviously was a bit sore and worse for wear because I'd just come off a motorbike, but I just said to Mum, I was like, my shoulder area just hurts, but not enough for me to not be able to ride the bike back to the house, which was only 200 metres, if that. And so, Mum was had moved it around a bit and was like, that's not right. And then Dad came and we headed inside and Dad had a look at it and, he kind of knew something was up. So we rang the hospital and they were like, well, it's Sunday afternoon. We can't really do anything till tomorrow. So they were like, just sling it up and come and see us tomorrow. And, so my collarbone ended up being broken. Mum and Dad didn't end up going to the party. It was kind of a pain when it happened initially, but then obviously went through the normal rigmarole of having a broken bone, went to the doctor, went to the hospital, got it looked at properly, got it properly slinged up, so it was all good. And then everything seemed to have developed from there. So while I had broken arm and broken collarbone, I had to develop different ways of getting up off the floor and stuff like that. So that was all fine while I had a sling on. Obviously, getting up with one hand is a bit different to getting up when you can use both hands. And then after it had healed and I didn't have my sling anymore, I was still getting up the same way off the floor. And Mum and Dad were like, get up properly. You don't have the sling on anymore. And I was like, but I am. This is how I get up. And so after that, I had been, prior to my broken arm, had been going to the chiropractor a little bit just because Mum and Dad did, and it was pretty good. So yeah, we went to him one day, and Mum was like, I'd also been walking like slightly up on my toes instead of heel toe like most people walk. So Mum and Dad were like, we should probably get that looked at. So yeah, we went to the chiropractor, and Mum sort of showed him what got me to demonstrate what the problem was. So I got up off the floor a couple of times and walked back and forth across the room. For me, I felt like I was doing everything normal, but it definitely, from a medical or a chiropractic standpoint and from a parent's view, I wasn't. So he was like, look, something is happening here, but it's a bit out of my league. You should see your GP about it. So yeah, then sort of after that, we booked in with the GP, went and saw him, and he was like, yeah, this did the same thing, demonstrated getting up off the floor and walking and stuff. And he was like, yeah, that's, again, not right. Something needs to be looked at. So then this was still 2010. I was still 8. We got referred to a paediatrician in Wagga, Dr. Thamba Pillay. If I doubt he's listening, but if you are, hey.
Hashtag shameful plug.
Yeah, so went and saw him, and he was like, I don't actually really remember because I was 8 and was like, this seems like a big deal. We're going to see all these more important doctors than the local GP. But then I got referred to, so he obviously saw me and noticed that, yeah, that stuff isn't normal. So then I'm not sure whether it was him who referred Mum and Dad to take me to the neurology department at Sydney Kids, or someone in Sydney Kids anyway. So then I get an appointment there and go and see them, and they do all the tests, and like I got blood tests and some other things and stuff. And yeah, sadly then it was October, so I was almost, how old was I then? 9. Yeah, so sort of October 2010 I was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
Were you still mobile at this point, walking along? Or?
Yeah, so at this point I was still walking like a normal kid. Obviously, walking longer distances was tiring, and I wasn't walking properly. But yeah, other than that, I think I'd probably, I was still trying to play footy and stuff, but not that I was ever that interested. But just because it was a bit difficult for me to run around and keep up with the other guys. So yeah, it was all like, obviously it hit Mum and Dad pretty hard, but I was a bit not oblivious. I knew it was a big deal and stuff would start to get harder, but I can't recall ever being that upset, but definitely was like, oh, this is a big deal. It's not just we went to see the doctor. This is something that's probably going to affect me forever, and that is definitely correct.
Yeah, definitely changed life. Throughout that. But what is Duchenne's and what has it?
So it's a form of muscular dystrophy where there's in the chromosome part of your DNA, there's a certain few chromosomes that help develop dystrophin, which is what gets your muscles to keep rebuilding. So that's, I think it's number 40 or between 40 and 45, and one of them is not there. So yeah, my body doesn't create the dystrophin needed to rebuild my muscles, so they go the other way. So all of my muscles in my body will slowly degrade and become weaker, basically all the time.
And I think as you've been growing since that age of 9, 10, you've sort of noticed little by little it slowly...
Yeah, like, so when I was probably 13 or 14 when I ended up... No, probably 13 when I was, like, fully in a wheelchair all the time. So sort of between that 9 and 14 was like a bit of a... most of it was me walking still as normal, but as it got towards the end, we got a cheap power wheelchair at some auctions that some old guy was selling, and so before, at this stage, we didn't have a car. We could fit it in the back, or we could fit it in the back of our four-wheel drive, but it was a bit of a problem to get it to and from school all the time. So it stayed at school, and I had a manual chair at home that I used. So yeah, I'd use that chair while I was at home, and then mum or my sister or dad would push me out to the bus, and I'd get in the bus, and then once I got to school, one of my mates would usually be there, and they'd get in this power chair and drive it out to me at the bus so I could get around, which was really awesome. So
how did you feel in those initial stages? You sort of touched base on it, but was it when you got your chair and you started having to learn the differences in mobility compared to your friends? How did that play a role in your development and what you saw your friends doing as opposed to yourself?
So this was probably the most active part of you being at school. Like, you're 12 and you just want to be running around, kicking the footy, playing basketball, playing cricket at recess and lunch. So I honestly getting that power chair was just so good, because I could still walk, but it was never fast, and standing up was difficult, and it was often that I'd fall over on the ground, and just not damagingly fall over, but just end up on the floor and not be able to get up. So getting the wheelchair allowed me to be part of everything, because I could keep up. Unless everyone was running, because the chair didn't go that fast. But yeah, if we were just playing cricket or whatever, like, my upper limb function was still good enough to swing a cricket bat and throw a ball and all that stuff. So I think, as much as it seems like being in a wheelchair at 13 at school, like just the end of primary school, it seems pretty detrimental, but compared to how difficult it was for me to, like, we found this hiking stick that I used for a while, so it was like had a walking stick basically, and so when we could get that wheelchair, it was just awesome, because it meant I could just I had a wheelchair that was different to everyone else, but I didn't have a walking stick.
Still and gave you freedom and independence.
Yeah, it gave me the freedom to be part of everything. Like, because before I had that, and was like between when I could walk efficiently by myself and where it was just too difficult. I did have a manual chair at school, but again, that I was always relying on someone else to get me somewhere, because yeah, my upper limbs were good, but they weren't like push me in the wheelchair good. So getting the power one just was awesome, because it meant I could just go wherever I wanted at school by myself whenever I want. Well, obviously classes allowing. It honestly, yeah, it gave me a lot more freedom than
what you were used to in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, most people go, "Oh, you're in a wheelchair. That must be tough." I'm like, yeah, but without it, I'd be screwed. So,
and I think to get to that point, there was you needed, and being a young person anyway, but going through this, is you need a lot of support and that. And I guess from what I've seen, your family has been a big supporting factor in your life, and we haven't heard much about them as well throughout the journey of the podcast. Would you like to elaborate on your family dynamic? And
so honestly, my family is awesome. From mum and dad to my sister, Abby.
She knows how to shoot a gun, guys.
Yeah, Brody, you better watch out. Don't play up. Yeah, so, and then, like, my grandparents, my pop on my dad's side passed away when I was 4, so I don't really have that many memories about him, but, I mean, I do remember him being great. We've got a few photos of me sitting on the 4-wheeler with him rounding up sheep, and, yeah, I thought he was pretty cool. And then, yeah, Dad's mum is still around at home. Yeah, I know she's very appreciative that we can live so close. And, yeah, I'm appreciative that we could see a part of our sort of extended immediate family regularly, which is really good. And then Mum's parents from up at northern New South Wales, up in Walker. They are great. Sadly, Mum's mum, Margie, passed away last year, so that's a bit crap because she was awesome.
We'll definitely miss her Anzac cookies with the chocolate drop. I always remember
that they will be missed. I know Mum and a few of my cousins have the recipe, but yeah, they're not going to be the same.
Never.
I know Dodie had met, well, all of my grandparents bar Pop. So yeah, they're all really awesome, and credit to Pa, Mum's dad, he's doing absolutely amazing. I know Margie's passing was very hard on him, but he is doing so well at the moment. It's pretty cool. I'm sure she's up there. He's finally got hearing aids, and I'm sure she's up there yelling at him like, why couldn't you do that for 10 years when I was still there? But anyway, he's living very well at the moment, which is very good. I'm sure he's finding it a bit lonely living by himself for the first time in a really long time.
But like everything in your family, Jack, I've noted that such great support, even going back to your parents and all they've done for you to get you to this point as well. And
so, like, my parents, obviously, they knew when I was, like, not even at school that I wasn't going to be a farmer. So probably for them to understand that at a really... that's bad. Okay. I just got to pause the recording and we'll put my computer's full.
Sorry, guys, there's a little bit of a technical hitch here from the Nerd Station.
And, sorry for my explicit language too.
Not acceptable. I think you'll be demonetized on YouTube. Remember, like and subscribe on YouTube. So let's get back into it. We left off talking about Jack's family and his amazing grandmother, and kick it away, Jack.
Yeah, well, I'd gone back to my parents being like super supportive. I think I finished with saying they knew I wasn't going to be a farmer from like a really young age, so I was always going to go on to further education, most likely. And that, in my case, happened to be university. So they supported me all the way through high school, made sure I got the support I needed and did everything I needed to achieve my goals at school, because my disability is only physical. I was like, I'm not going to let that stop me. I knew I wanted to be at university. For some reason, when I was 8, like before I was diagnosed, I thought I was going to study physics at UNSW. I really don't know why, because I hate science. But I did have a teacher in high school, Mrs. Jackson, who made science much better.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Yeah, so we had a very similar sense of humour. So all the kids, when all the other of my classmates who said dumb stuff while we were in class, we'd always sort of look at each other and roll their eyes at how dumb what they just said was. So yeah, then sort of middle to late high school, I started getting like pretty keen on computer programming. Dodhy was a bit of a part in that at school. I completed a coding challenge when I was in year 9. That was some Python based stuff that was I had only just started learning, and yeah, it was pretty fun. So Dodhy and I would get together at lunchtime at school and complete this whatever courses I had to do at that point. Yeah, so I completed that. That was year 9, I think. And then senior school, so 11 and 12, I did software design and development and information design and media technology or some vet course that was they were both computer based. So I had a pretty good feeling I was going to go into computer science at uni, so I was like, software development is what I want to do. Yeah, so then kind of all the pieces fell into place. I got early entry to study computer science at UOW in Wollongong. Yeah, and then HSC came around. I did my exams and I got my ATAR offer as well. So it was kind of like I got in twice. So I was pretty proud of myself that I got the marks I needed, even though I'd slacked off my study a little bit. I was like, yeah, well, I was just going to try too hard for no reason. But I guess self-gratification by doing really well in your HSC is worth it I'm sure if I did really well, I would have been really happy, and I feel like I did really well, and I'm really happy. Yeah, so then the next part in that was finding out where to stay and how living independently worked for a disabled person who needs like 100% physical support for basically everything.
So it's basically coming from, if we snap back into, say, Junior World come back again, is that you've had a big change in your life. You grew up in a rural remote town of Ungary, population around 500 people, and probably like most country towns, sadly, the population is getting smaller and smaller, to now being in the big smoke of the South Coast in Wollongong, and adapted to both amazingly and sorted it out and basically living the dream. But what was it like growing up in a small rural area and now comparing that to what you're experiencing here on the coast?
Well, I think my experience very much comes from school, like, because obviously I was a school kid when I was living out there. So, like, Ungary Central obviously is a central school that's K to 12. So, pretty much everyone who was at school when I got there already knew who I was, and all my mates knew who I was, and they sort of grew with me growing up into need a wheelchair and stuff like that. So they were just like, yeah, that's they
just Jack.
Acknowledged basically the change, but they were like, yeah, it's just Jack. And then anyone who wasn't at school when I started there as well, just like, it's just Jack. Like, I can remember one time, I think I've probably already mentioned it on the podcast, but one of my mate's little brothers saw mum and me come out of the disabled toilet at the pool while I was like in a wheelchair, and he was like, why is Jack in there? He doesn't need it. And mum was like, well, yeah, he does. He's disabled. And Harry turns around and he goes, no, he's just Jack. And I think that's the idea that the country area gave me, that, yeah, I am just Jack. The wheelchair doesn't matter. That's just, I use it, but it's not me. So I think, and like, I had a good group of friends and stuff, and the school was too small. If anyone decided to bully me, you'd get tracked down and have more people coming at you. So
it's basically you being in that small town. It's your school life, your home life, your sports life, your social life is all one and the same.
All the same people. So everyone, because you're with the same people all the time, they grow just as much as you do. So I think if I had grown up in a city area, you can definitely sort of fall away from that comfort of everyone knowing you is a bit, makes it hard to do stuff without people knowing, but I guess
in another angle, it provides that extra level of support.
Yeah, because everyone knows who you are. Like, it's so easy to feel comfortable because no matter where you go, everyone knows who you are. They're not too, like, stressed out to talk to you because they don't know who you are, because they do know who you are. And
it's that, once again, it's just talking to Jack. There's nothing different about it. And so now, fast forwarding now into, say, leaving your family, leaving that support network of the country, and making that giant leap into a totally different environment. Parents are still working and living out in the country, and you've had to really develop your sense of independence and identity. How's that transitioned and gone for you?
Well, honestly, I think with how well, like, the uni has supported me, and getting a great support coordinator to help create a support network here for me, it made the stress of it was normal, that it was just leaving home and starting uni. It wasn't leaving home to live by yourself in a wheelchair in a place you don't know with people you don't know supporting you. Yeah, that is what happened, but all of my support team were professionals, so they've done this before, and they know how to just gel with the person they're supporting, which is what they're supposed to do.
And I think a lot of it comes from you as well. You're pretty easygoing. It's not and I come see and do some support work, but it also feels like hanging with a mate more so, and it's that's the vibe you give. We're hanging with mates and we're having a good time, and yeah, there's some support things that have to happen, but it's not defining the relationship. We get to know one another and we get to hang and do things, and I think that's what's really important, is that can-do, positive attitude that you bring. Yeah. It allows you to surround yourself with like-minded and like people, and that's really important too.
And I mean, I think your relationship with me is a bit different because you obviously knew me from Mungary. You were my maths teacher for a couple of years. So as you've said to Mum, it's just like hanging out with a mate. I'd be there, you'd be hanging out with me once in a while if I didn't need support. So it's like,
it just feels natural. Like,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to. I don't specifically try to be friends with all my support workers, but be friendly when they're here, so that, like, I'm not a monster. Sure, I might get sick of having people around me all the time, but I'd be screwed without them. So I need to be gracious, and I understand that, and I am gracious most of the time just because that's who I am. Like, I think the most worked up I get about stuff is playing video games.
Oh, and I've seen you rage quit on many times. No, it's cool, and it's just amazing. Like, the perspective I've had, I sort of came into Jack's life when he was a teenager, probably year 9, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I was at a different school at the time, but it's a memory that always, when I reminisce, is basically this young kid rolling around or zooming around in his wheelchair, loving life, and we had a engineering challenge that was going on, and that was the first time I met Jack, where their school came across to ours, and we were trying to increase the school's participating in the event. And here was young Jack, and I basically started off by saying, okay, guys, 5 minutes, go away and then come back, I want you to present. And then I called Jack's team up, and he hates me.
I was crying.
He started to bawl his eyes when I said, Jack, you got to present. And here I was, the mean ogre guy, but look at him now. Today he gave me the call up and said, hey, you want to do a podcast today? And I said, sure. I was just waiting for the call up. I was like really angry. Hey, 5 other people have got the call up and I hadn't got mine yet. And then we came here and I go, Jack, I want to flip the coin on this and interview you today. And he's like, yep. Nowhere in my wildest dreams would I have thought that would happen. And it just shows how, with the support he's had, but also his can-do attitude, that he's grown into a fine young man who's really kicking goals and pushing himself to the next limit. And to the point that over the holidays, when he came back at the start of the year, I was catching up with him and helping unpack and get his stuff, and I noticed a learn to driver's logbook, and I'm like, what's this? And then he tells me he got his learner's license. I'm like, this is so cool. Like, yes, he may be in a wheelchair, but his independence has not been limited. And now every time I see him, we're talking about, oh, what kind of car can he get and how could we mod it? And we've already got the big spinning rims ready to go on.
Oh, God, no, we don't. We do not have spinners.
We're going to pimp out his bus and the subwoofers and the lift kits and everything. So it's just amazing to see how, yes, he has a disability, but no, that does not define him, and how he just grows and grows and grows. And it really makes me so proud to be part of his life. And I know his parents are the same, and everyone around him just sees him and is inspired by him. I just hope he knows that himself and that he just keeps moving on. So what's left in the Jack journey?
Oh, honestly, I don't really, not much. I'm still studying at university. I've transferred to IT now from computer science to get a bit more of that people interaction. I mean, I love computers, but far out, they can be boring to work with all the time. At least people have some variety about them.
And that's the amazing part. I always thought you were going to be that computer nerd sitting at your desk, remote zooming into your clients and whatnot.
Well, I mean, I might still be doing that. Like, working from home is pretty cool, but
then that idea now that we've had many discussions around you now wanting to go into more the social aspect, so becoming a CL now RA, promoting events around the campus, that's like amazing.
I definitely think that's been something that I never thought I would do, but am very happy I've got the opportunity to do that for, well, now 12 months, and hopefully, well, the 12 coming, and then hopefully 12 next year while I'm still here.
So what is this RA role about? What do you have to do?
So basically we're community builders. So we volunteer here at Coolabong Village, and we basically put events on for all the residents who live here.
And what's your latest one coming up?
My latest one next Thursday is cupcake decorating for St. Patrick's Day. So,
ooh, nice.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of gold chocolate coins and green icing and cupcakes. So that is way outside what I would normally do. But yeah, I'm happy to bring it to Coolabong, and I hope the people who come along really enjoy it.
And that's it. It's experiencing uni. You're an adult now. You're at university, furthering your education, but it's about opening yourself to the world and being open to new experiences. And that's what I think, and I see every day that I come and visit.
Yeah,
I see happening, and it's so good. You haven't thrown yourself into a room and just left yourself there. You're wanting to explore and expand, and that's what I love as well. Is you came to Wollongong, I'd come back home, and I'm seeing more of Wollongong than I ever have, and it's been really good to be part of that journey too. And it gives me new perspectives as well, because there's things that I go happy-go-lucky through my life, but then to see it through the lens of someone else and someone with a disability as well, and where we can and can't go, and think about that, it'd be eye-opening for many people to realise that. And I think Wollongong's pretty good in that regard to access, and there's free buses we can get on and really explore the town, and it's beautiful. Yeah,
it's a great area. I know that was basically, you were part of what made me come here. We came down for the Discovery Days here at UOW, an excursion from the local access program, so my Ungary Central and then 3 other schools. And Dinesh, took us to North Gong Beach, and
oh, lucky you didn't say North Gong Pub.
No, the beach. And everyone else was like obviously swimming, but my wheelchair doesn't go on the sand, so I was just sitting at the edge of the sand, and I don't know, something happened, and I was just like, well, nothing happened. I just was like, this is where I want to be. I want to go to university here. So yeah, I think it's better to be here than in the concrete jungle.
of Sydney City. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, the other option was basically, had I pulled my finger out, UNSW, but I'm glad. I'm much more, I don't know how I would be happier there than I am here. I have an awesome support team. I've got family 20 minutes down the road. I have an awesome group of friends. We go to trivia almost every week. We don't win, but we have a couple beers and we have fun. So that's good.
You're a winner anyway. You attend.
Yeah.
I think we might have to pause this. I think someone's cutting onions. I need some tissues.
Yeah, so it's honestly opened my eyes because it was the first time I've had anything to do with different people who don't know me from home. That I'm making new friends and stuff, and most people are really accommodating to me being in a wheelchair. They they might not notice, but then they just come up and start talking to me, and they go, "Oh, this guy's actually interesting. He's got stuff. He's passionate about stuff, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. It's not a loser." And I think,
have you found that to be sometimes a wall that presents?
Oh yeah, it can be, because so many people just don't. No disrespect to them, you just don't notice it. One of the guys who I met last year, who has ended up being one of my pretty close friends, he'd actually gone to school with another guy that has what I have, and I'd actually met him at a camp. So being friends with him was super easy because he'd been mates with a guy who had the same thing I did for a couple of years. So they went to the same high school. So
that helped ease the...
That helped heaps, because he knew it wasn't a burden for us to be mates. But I don't know if any of the other guys that I have become good friends with have experienced someone with a disability of any sort, or maybe they're just really good guys and they go, okay, this guy's in a wheelchair, that doesn't matter. Which I think the more people that can realise that a disabled person isn't their disability, they are a person. I know, obviously, to communicate with me is quite easy because my disability's basically completely physical. But yeah, mental can make it difficult, but they do have a brain. They may not be able to communicate clearly, but that's not to say they don't know what they're trying to say. So honestly, if you guys out there know or have seen a person who may have a disability, don't see that as a burden. They're still regular people. They may appreciate just having a chat with someone new.
And I think it's important, it may sound cliched, but you making and having the guts to create this podcast and really have a future on it and promote it, it's a case of getting the word out and educating people. Yeah,
that's 100% what I was trying to do. I knew I had a story that I'd shared within the Duchenne community quite a bit. I was like, people outside of this could really find it helpful, because we're not exclusive to other people who have what I have. We live in the real world. We don't live in Duchenne land. So I think the more people that know about it, the better.
And hey, at the end of the day, you need a little bit extra support, but who doesn't need support in this world? Yeah,
exactly. Everyone needs something. I just happen to need more of it.
Yours is just more visible, I guess. And
yeah, exactly.
But it's really good to see that, from every experience I've had with Jack, it's a yes, can do attitude, and it's never a oh no, I'm in a wheelchair sort of attitude, and that's really important to succeeding and moving forward. And
yeah, I obviously know I'm a mad sports keen person, but I knew that was never going to be an option. So yeah, I've got other hobbies. I'm an avid video game player. I like to just hang out with my friends here and just run events for all the other people, because I know how much I enjoyed that my first year. So being now old head living at Coolabong,
being able to pay it forward, that's good.
Pay it forward, give the new students now what I got when I was here. Or when I was first here. I'm still here, but when I first moved in and didn't know anybody.
And it's with COVID and stuff, it's sort of been very hit and miss being on campus and having that full uni experience, hasn't it?
It has been, but honestly, 2020 being at Coolabong for the second semester, even though it was all online, that was the best 6 months of my life, I think, because we met new people. Those new people were always at the events again, so it kind of was like we were our own sort of 30-person family that we just, everyone was part of it. And I know there were other people living here who didn't take 100% advantage of that, but I definitely did. And I could see that at the start of last year. It was weird because there were so many more people, and then obviously lockdown happened and everyone left again. But then this year it's been absolutely hectic. There's every event there's different people at. It makes every event be a bit confronting, but I mean that's part of our job, is to make everyone else feel welcome. So,
and that's a really good thing to do, and it takes a person of great character to be able to welcome other people in and really move forward, and it's really good.
I think it also allows us to show off our interests and stuff a bit as well. Like,
so you love cupcakes?
Okay, the cupcake event, I actually missed the meeting that we were planning that. So, I mean, I'm no disrespect to the rest of the crew from my building who decided we were doing that. I think it's an awesome idea. It's just not something I would normally do. But
putting yourself out there, that's the main thing. Yeah,
so my next big idea, I've watched a couple YouTube videos of this guy who does Orcs battles. So he has a wheel with A to Z on it. You spin the wheel, you get a letter, you've got to pick an artist. You go together with another person, and you pick a song from an artist that starts with that letter. So say if you got K, you could do like Kanye West, and the other person could pick. That's a really bad example. I don't know any other K artists. The Kid Laroi, I guess. That's K. So two people would pick a song from any artist that starts with that letter. They go head to head, and then everyone else in the room, or in the guy on YouTube's case, watching the live stream, vote for who wins, and you do it like bracket style, and then you have a final at the end. So I'm thinking we do that here and just have like a cheer meter, like degree of who wins, basically. And give everyone the opportunity to show off their musical interests.
Speaking of musical interests, I know you and I usually rock out to what you're into. I don't think it's everyone's cup of tea, and I've given you a few digs about it. But
hey, I can put something you like on if you want.
What's your latest flavours in music, Jay?
Hip hop, but you already knew that, and I think after my podcast with Isaac, I think everyone listening knew that as well.
What's your favourite song at the moment? Is it in Kanye's
at the moment, nah, probably not Kanye. I mean, he's probably still a legend. He makes some good music, but I'm just scrolling through my Spotify playlist here.
Bit of Jay-Z.
I mean, The Boys in Paris is a pretty good song, so I mean, that's not what it's called, but I'm not using that language on here.
He's referring to Jay-Z Kanye's
In Paris,
N-word in Paris, yes.
Look, I honestly don't know what my favourite song at the moment is. I mean, I have hip-hop and bloody indie stuff and just, I don't know, I have a weird variety of music, but...
All in the hip-hop genre?
Not necessarily. Most of it is. Like, probably, I don't know, I still just Mac Miller's The Kids album just is good. So I go at the moment. Don't Mind If I Do by Mac Miller is probably my favourite at the moment. It's pretty good.
So let's delve into that a little bit. The life of Jack. We've heard about growing up, a bit of the disability side, but that's not you.
No, that's part of my life, but it's not me.
Let's delve into the sex, drugs, and rock and roll of your life.
That does not exist. My music taste may say otherwise, but I say the complete opposite.
So a very homebody person, likes to play games.
God, yeah, I'm happy to sit at home, listen to... I mean, I might blast my music really loud, but I'm not going to do it with a bunch of random people I don't know with music I don't know. Like, I'm happy to be at my own house playing games, listening to my own music that I want to listen to.
Like a bit of trivia on a weekly basis.
So I might get out a couple of days to do some stuff. Trivia, that's almost a weekly occurrence. Whatever events at Coolabong I'll get around, I'll come to. Generally I'm interested, and sometimes I'm just swing by anyway just to support the other guys, because we're a team and we want to keep, I think for just the community's sake, I think we need to be a community as well.
That's it.
Like essentially a community within a community. Because if we're all yelling and screaming and kicking up dust at each other, well, that's not going to achieve anything. The people will come to events and see we're not having a good time, so they won't have a good time.
That's it. You need a champion team, not a team of champions, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm happy to just come back to my place and chill out and recharge and obviously study because I'm at uni.
Yeah, that's the one thing that every uni student that I speak to never talks about.
It does happen, just when I want it to. And
that's the beauty of moving into the adult space and adult learning and living. It's more flexible and it's not as rigorous, and you just got to get you out into the town one of the nights. And
I honestly don't really think your chances are very high, but if you want to...
Hey, if there's anyone out there that wants to take Jack out on the town, he's single, ready to mingle. Oh, he's cringing right now, but it's hilarious.
I mean, I am cringing, but I also just farted on mic, so
okay.
Pardon me.
TMI.
Well, if you guys heard anything now, you know what it was.
I just thought it was a little vox pop. But no, it's great chatting to you. I think we covered a few points, and if there's any feedback you've got, anything you want to know more about Jack, like is he ready to hit the town with a few of the lads? Who knows?
I don't know.
Or he's ready to go down to his favourite food spots, Chico's, ready for a sponsorship deal. Don't worry, Crocs. I think in the first episode you talk about Crocs being a sponsor.
I mean, we can have more than one sponsor. No one said it had to be one or none.
Exclusive to Chico's, Jack. We're Wollongong Illawarra people now, so
yes. If
Chico's are out there in the hearing, 3-piece box for Jack weekly. Come on, let's make it happen. But I thank you for thank you for letting me interview you today. We've got a fair bit of information out, and
I think the people listening out there, I don't know how many there are at the moment, but no, I'm sure I mean, it's been a bit of a long one again, but I'm sure
I think it had to happen.
They wanted to get to know me a bit more,
who's the man behind the microphone, And if you're interested in listening to Jack, there's so many platforms that he's currently sitting on. So please make sure you like and subscribe to one of them. I'm like his only one subscriber on YouTube. So if we can get a few more Jack out of the box subscribers on YouTube, where else are you sitting, Jack?
So then also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and I think any other podcast platform. I don't know, not Google, but something else. I mean, just search for Jack Out of the Box on whatever your podcast app is. Most likely it'll be there. Or just be cultured and download Pocket Cast because it's the best one.
Okay, I've never even heard of Pocket Cast, so I'll be cultured and have to download it. But I think, that's covered a lot of bases, and it's really good to know a bit more about you. Like, I didn't even know about the stuff when you were like really young and going into that phase of finding out you had Duchenne's, and it's really opening my eyes. And even the few events that I've seen with your Duchenne's online when you were interviewed the other time, and I learned a lot about what it means. And I think it's important that if we're going to accept other people and be there for other people, it doesn't hurt to educate ourselves about the needs of others. And I know, and I've been really proud to be part of your journey, that you basically have opened my eyes to so many different things and so many different ways that the world is working around. And I think that's really important for everyone to have an experience with. But I think today we'll wrap it up. Please like and subscribe and get onto those podcasts and rate those views up and keep listening.
Yeah. Again, thanks, Dodhy, for hosting today. It's been a weird one for me, but no, I'm sure the listeners all enjoyed it. I hope you guys, I hope you enjoyed getting to know me a bit more. Definitely, feel free, share, send me whatever you want on Facebook. I'm open to recommendations, so take this as your invitation to send me a message or whatever on Facebook if you guys have any recommendations on what I could talk about.
Get him down in the DMs, as they say.
Maybe do that if you want, but I don't know, it depends who you are.
Well, I think we better wrap it up here before you get sick of me. So thanks everyone for listening to episode 69, and we'll end it there. Thanks, Jack. You have a good one, and looking forward to the next
Thanks
session.
for listening, guys. You'll hear me next week for episode number 7. See ya.